Okay guys, we are very, very excited to share with you New Jerusalem. What you're looking at on the screen is New Jerusalem. It is the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven in Revelation 21 and 22. And the details of the building that you're looking at, and this is the actual dwelling place. These are the houses, the dwelling places of the righteous, and in the background these houses form city blocks, and we are getting this information from the Dead Sea Scrolls, New Jerusalem. Okay, so this is the actual building, guys. It is to the proper measurements, the sacred measurements. This is all glory to the Lamb. All glory to the Lamb for allowing us to see such marvelous things. So that is a house. And then what we have is the house within something called a city block. And that's what we can see here. Okay, so as we look here, you can see that the individual houses come together in rows, and the whole area would exist in what we're told is a city block. All this information is coming to us from a document in the Dead Sea Scrolls, 4Q455. Okay, so that a house here, the one that we showed you, has another house behind it, another house next to it, and they go in rows going across. In Ezekiel, these are called the 20 chambers in the suburbs. So this is very, very exciting. Now, in order to get a sense of how big this is, okay, we took a look at a house, and we can show you here that there are houses going in rows. There's approximately 200 houses here, maybe a little bit less. Yes, less than that. But just to give you a rough idea. And this is a city block. So this is exactly the same in the Ezekiel temple. This is exactly the same as in New Jerusalem. Okay, so that's a city block. Now, off over in the distance there, what you can see is we have something else, and this is New Jerusalem. Okay, it's not to scale. Okay, the New Jerusalem, in order to fit it and render it here, okay, what we had to do is we had to make it a much smaller scale. I'm not even sure how small it is, guys. It's basically what it is. In order to fit this going across, this is 28.8 miles. That's the distance from one corner to the other. Okay, so what we did is for every cubit, we made that an inch. All right. Now, what we're looking at here as New Jerusalem, as you can see, we have a footprint. And in order to represent this to you in a way that you can see it, we didn't build out the whole thing because it just repeats itself. But essentially what we have is the center has a sanctuary, holy place, precinct, if you were. There's no temple in New Jerusalem, but there is an area. And to let you know how we came about this, is these are the proportions, okay, to the Ezekiel city. So we basically took the proportions in the Ezekiel city, what is a city block, and it comes out to this size. That's what you're looking at here as a proportion. All right. Now, the other thing we want to do is show you how large this is, right? So you can see how large this is. This is the Revelation New Jerusalem, and I'm trying to fit it on the screen so you can see the whole thing. Okay, there you can see the whole thing, right? Now, of all that size, okay, the Ezekiel temple for the millennial reign of Christ is this right here. It's much, much smaller. And let's zoom in and show you the Ezekiel temple. So it would have a temple in the middle, okay? But essentially, the area that we're talking about is here in gray. Let's see if I can zoom in on that and give you a better look. So that gives you an idea of the difference, okay, in size between the Ezekiel temple right here and the Revelation New Jerusalem. Now, the reason we're pointing this out and we want to give you this a point of reference and scale is because in the city, our understanding is that the only ones in the city have participated in the resurrection. Okay? So it says the nations are outside the city. So in both the Ezekiel, that's the first resurrection. That's the first resurrection. And those are the millennial reign with Christ, 1,000 years. And at the conclusion of the 1,000 years millennial reign of Christ, then we have what's called New Jerusalem, and we get something obviously much larger in scope. Okay, that's what we are looking at here. Okay, and in order to try to show you, okay, how large this is, one of these squares, any one of these squares that we're looking at here, this is the city block that we showed you before. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands. And in order to show you a reference of what the scale is that we're looking at, okay, this is a gate and the entrance to the city. Okay, isn't that cool? And we have foundations, so the foundations are the gemstones, and we would have the gate, and we are showing you also the river of life coming out. Okay. So, with this close-up, we have the river of life will come out. It will come out through the east gate. We have a foundation level, and we will hope we'll in the future build this out a little more. There's more details. It's kind of a work in progress, but we just wanted to show you a sense of scope and give you an idea of New Jerusalem and our model where we are thus far. Okay, so you have the foundations, and there are 12 gates of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then inside are the city blocks as we have shown you. In the first video, we talked about how the measuring line is what measures New Jerusalem, and how the measurement was in 12,000 reeds at stadia. Okay, so like 12,000 at stadia reeds. So what a stadia is a word we get in English, stadium, and that goes back to the Olympics, and in a stadium you would have a large oval building and a race, and so they would run inside it. It probably exists to this day. I don't know how many meters it is. I think it's like 185 meters. So I don't know if there's like a relay race or something. But anyway, the point is, the stadium that we get in English, that word, comes from a large amphitheater-like building, and then the race would be a distance that they would run in this oval track inside the stadium. And the measurement used for that, okay, is in a measuring line. Okay, now, we told you that the distance of the Ezekiel city and the Revelation New Jerusalem was, a measuring line, and so that there's 144 stadia. So the race that you run around, okay, the distance of that race, okay, that's the distance of New Jerusalem. So it's not 12,000 stadia, it's 12,000 reeds, and based on the number of reeds in a stadia, that is the distance. And we told you that the people that are inside, okay, have been participating in the resurrection. So there's two resurrections. There's something called the first resurrection, and that happens before the millennium. And then there's a resurrection that takes place, and then that takes place before New Jerusalem in Revelation 20, and then the larger resurrection takes place, and then we see the larger New Jerusalem, where the ones going inside have right to the tree of life, so they're resurrected. Now, an example for us of this, okay, is Enoch. Now, we use simplified terms for heaven and hell. And it would appear that there's only, kind of two places a person goes. But there's actually not. There's more than that. And heaven can be understood in more than one place or okay, and so like paradise, okay, paradise is a place the souls go, the righteous go, okay? But they're not in the resurrection, they died. The New Jerusalem and the Ezekiel temple city are those that were part of the resurrection. And so when a person dies, they go to paradise, but they don't go to New Jerusalem. Now, people may have seen New Jerusalem and have seen it like John has and others could see it, but when they die, that's not where they go yet, right? They're awaiting the resurrection. However, we have one person that did go, and that is Enoch. And so he actually describes this to us, okay? He goes to this place. Enoch chapter 61. And I saw in those days long cords were given to the angels, and they took for themselves wings and flew, and they went towards the north. And I asked the angel, saying to him, why have these angels taken these cords and gone off? To what? Measure. So they're using measuring line, measuring the cords. It went to the north. And the angel that went with me said to me, these shall bring the measures of the righteous, okay, and the ropes of the righteous to the righteous. So they're measuring the space, okay, for the righteous. And what's happening is this is the Ezekiel city, and this is being measured, and Enoch didn't die. Okay, he didn't die. He didn't die and went to paradise, because in the book of Enoch it talks about Abel, and Abel's in paradise, okay, and he is making suit, and Abel is there in paradise, and he is praying. But Enoch doesn't go there. He goes to a place measured with cords and lines. Okay? And they that stay themselves on the name of the Lord of spirits forever. And the elect shall begin to dwell with the elect. And those are the measures that shall be given to faith, which shall strengthen righteousness. Okay? So, Enoch is shown a place that's measured with lines, and that's where the righteous will go in the resurrection. Then Enoch, is translated into heaven in chapter 70. And it came to pass after this, during his lifetime, he was raised aloft. Enoch was raised aloft to the Son of Man. Okay? So, the Enoch is being translated into heaven. It's like the resurrection, right? And so who does he see? He sees Christ. He's the Son of Man, and to the Lord of spirits, the Father. Amongst whom those who dwell on earth. And he was raised aloft on chariots of the Spirit, and his name vanished from among them, or from among the earth. And from that day I was no longer numbered amongst them, and he set me between two winds, north and west. Okay, so remember how we have a perfect square? It's measured by a stadia, and Enoch goes to the section of the city that is northwest. If I had it in front of me, which I don't, I could tell you what tribes those are. But anyway, where the angels took the cords to measure. Okay, remember the angels took cords to measure this before. And so now Enoch is finding out more specifically where he goes when he dwells with the righteous. With the righteous, and I saw the first fathers and the righteous, from whom the beginning dwell in that place. Okay, now, Enoch is not the only one, okay, in this city. Now, he's the one that we know from Scripture that have first been translated directly into heaven, but apparently there are others there when he goes. All right, now that is not paradise. That is not where Abel went. Okay, there's a distinction, and that's the distinction we are drawing when it comes to the Ezekiel city and the Revelation New Jerusalem. Okay? Now, very important that you understand, how do we come to terms with the fact that, okay, New Jerusalem in Revelation 21 and 22 is not 12,000 stadia, it's 12,000 reeds. Now, the number of reeds in a stadia is 83.33 reeds. Okay, it's 83 and a third reeds that's in a stadia. So when we have 12,000 reeds, in order to find out how many stadia that is, we have to divide 83.33. And that is equal to 144 stadia. So, when I came across the New Jerusalem in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I realized it was 140 stadia. And I had done these calculations before, and I had to do them again to remind myself, and then I began to realize it's 144 stadia. It's 12,000 reeds in New Jerusalem. And so what we have is something that existed, very popular in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And now what we want to do is explain to you that some of the documents in the Dead Sea Scrolls, some of the things that are in Jewish literature at the time of Christ, was commonplace understanding for the people, especially the great students, the great studiers. They knew about the documents that were very popular in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They are popular in other places as well. One of the reasons we believe John was aware of the Dead Sea Scrolls New Jerusalem is it was very popular in Qumran, in the community in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There were 7 scrolls of New Jerusalem found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's a lot, guys. That is like a book in the Bible. Like the book of Esther only has like one fragment in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, so this document was more popular than the book of Esther. Okay, and so people knew about this. We didn't know about it because it didn't exist in any other forms that we knew about until the scrolls were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So what we want to do is just show you a little bit. Okay, firstly, we're going to show you the difference. So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they are holding to the measurements, of that time. So the cubit, okay, they didn't use the sacred cubit. They used the measurements of that time. And we have examples of that here. So there's their reed had 7 cubits, but the reed in Ezekiel has 6 cubits. The difference is it's 12 feet here and 12.6 feet here. So it's pretty close, but the height of the wall, okay, this is important things. The height of the wall is 49 cubits, but we know in Revelation the height of the wall is 144 cubits. It was not a perfect square there. New Jerusalem was 140 stadia by 100 stadia, where the Revelation, okay, New Jerusalem is 144 stadia, perfect square. Now the Ezekiel city is 9 stadia. That's what we showed you before, how much smaller it is. Okay. Now, John was not surprised when he saw New Jerusalem. Sometimes when John sees something, he has an emotional reaction to it. So when John saw that no one was worthy to open the scroll, he wept much. When John saw Mystery Babylon, he marveled greatly. So he is seeing things that are surprising to him. They're like, wow, what is that? In the vision that Christ is showing to him. However, he is not surprised when he sees New Jerusalem. And when John is not surprised, he is seeing something that he already has a familiarity with. So if he's already familiar, he's not going to be surprised. And that's what happens with New Jerusalem. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I saw a holy city, New Jerusalem. And there's no emotional reaction. He was carried away in the spirit to a great high mountain, and the angel showed him the holy city, Jerusalem. So John is not surprised. Now, we also want to show you, there's many examples of this throughout the New Testament, where there are Hebrew documents outside of the Old Testament that the apostles and disciples are quoting. We could give you many examples of this. We have talked about the book called The Assumption of Moses. And that is who Jude is quoting when Jude says that Michael the archangel is disputing the body of Moses with the devil. That is not in the Old Testament of what we know of the Hebrew books available to us, okay? Apostle Paul is the great student, and he quotes Jannes and Jambres, who withstood Moses. That is in the book of Jubilees. And we want to show you some other examples where Apostle Paul is using specific references, what we believe are not just regular things in Judaism, but things in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls is the scroll of Melchizedek, 11Q13. In this, it says, your Elohim is Melchizedek. Okay, so your Elohim is Melchizedek, who will save you from the hand of Belial, or the devil. Now, Apostle Paul in Hebrews, okay, is referring to this document when he talks about Melchizedek. This Melchizedek, he is first, by translation of his name, the King of Righteousness, the King of Salem, he is the King of Peace, without father or mother or genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but resembling the Son of God, continues forever. So Apostle Paul is identifying the fact that in the book of Genesis, it doesn't tell us who, Melchizedek's parents are or anything, right? And so he's getting the idea that Melchizedek is not human. Okay, and that's what they said in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that your Elohim is Melchizedek. Okay, and there's other things that we find there in the Dead Sea Scroll document on Melchizedek. This is the day of salvation concerning that God spoke through Isaiah the prophet, who brings good news, and we know that's Christ. But as well, Paul talks about this in Hebrews 7 when talking about Melchizedek. He is able to save them from the uttermost that came to God, for Christ ever makes intercession for them. And this is the manner of release. That's what it talks about in this document. And Apostle Paul talks about the release in Hebrews 9, chapter 9 and 10. Who will return from there and will proclaim liberty, forgiving their wrongdoings. Again, this is a quote from the Dead Sea Scrolls, okay, Melchizedek document, and Apostle Paul is also alluding to this in Hebrews 8:8, quoting Jeremiah, I will forgive their iniquity and their sins. All right. Now, we also want to make mention, we don't believe it's coincidence that at the time this is happening, we believe the trumpet has blown and that the Israeli hostages were released around the time of the fall feast. So in the Melchizedek document it says, as for that, he said, then you will send abroad the trumpet in all the lands. And that's talking about the year Jubilee. And the hostages were released. And it will be proclaimed at the end of days concerning the captives. And he will proclaim liberty to the captives. So we believe that the hostages being released is a sign of something happening, of a trumpet blowing, and this release that is happening, okay, related to the documents of Melchizedek. So there we can see that Apostle Paul is quoting Melchizedek document from the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's what we're saying. And Apostle Paul is also alluding to Abraham in Hebrews 11 when he says, by faith he, Abraham, sojourned in a land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, heirs according to the same promise. Okay, for he looked for a city, okay, whose foundations and builder and maker is God. Okay, so here we see this. All right, now, when we read that, we think, oh, okay, Abraham looked for a city whose foundations and builder and maker is God. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I can't find any Old Testament scripture that says Abraham saw the city, okay, in the text that we have of the Hebrew Old Testament, as we call it, right? So what Apostle Paul is doing is he is not actually talking about quoting a text that we're aware of in the book of Genesis or Prophets, for example. What he's talking about is something more in the Hebrew tradition. And this is in 2nd Baruch, once again, found in Dead Sea Scrolls. The example of heavenly New Jerusalem in this text is found. This city will be delivered up for a time, and the people will be chastened for a time, and the world will not be forgotten. Or who do you think that this is the city which I said, on the palms of my hands I have carved you? The moment I decided to create paradise, I showed it to Adam. I showed New Jerusalem to Adam, is what it's saying. After these things, I showed it to my servant Abraham in the night between the portions of the victims. So this is talking about Genesis chapter 15. So here we have a text found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, 2nd Baruch, is talking about Abraham being shown the city, just like we could see in Hebrews. And then it says, again, I showed it to Moses on the mountain in the likeness of the tabernacle. And behold, it is preserved with me, as also is paradise. Okay, so remember, New Jerusalem is preserved with me, as is paradise. They are not the same place. Okay, they are preserved. Okay, and you know that, as we mentioned earlier, we saw Abel was in paradise. You can see Abraham is in paradise, which we can see in Luke 16, and it's amazing because this year is a type of the Genesis 15. Okay, so Genesis 14 was the 14th year, in Genesis 15 is the 15th year. Okay, and another sign for us is the red heifer. So Abraham sacrificed a red heifer, and we had the red heifer sacrifice. And this is pointing to the point when Abraham sacrificed a red heifer, he looked for a city in whose builder maker was God. So Abraham was shown the city in Genesis 15 as a type and shadow of now. Thus the trumpet is blown, is calling the priesthood to the boundary of the city gates. Okay, so there we can see what we're trying to show is that Apostle Paul is quoting in the New Testament text related to the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that Apostle John is being shown the New Jerusalem in light of the fact that he actually is aware that there is a New Jerusalem document that they had, and that the angel is giving him more clarity and more details on that actual New Jerusalem that is coming down. Before, what we're saying is that the early disciples knew about this. It was hidden from us until the Dead Sea Scrolls were found and this document was revealed. Okay, now what we want to do is take a look at this document called the New Jerusalem Scroll and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, what I'll do, guys, is I'll provide this in notes. I spent a lot of time looking for a good translation and information about this document, and what I am going to share with you is the best information I've found. Now, I have some information that is from mine. Others are other sources about the Temple Scroll, but mostly what we are going to share with you is from a book. This is the book here, New Jerusalem, from the New Jerusalem Scroll from Qumran, a comprehensive reconstruction by Michael Chayutim. Now, this book is excellent. Okay, he is an architect, the absolute perfect skill set to help us come to terms with what this document is talking about. You can see the book. There's a link on the document, but there's also some of the renderings are here, and I'll make this document available, but you can also purchase it if you want a physical copy. It's out there on Amazon. And so what he did is he basically took different fragments. Okay, remember there were 7 fragments of this document, and those fragments that were partial, he combined and put the puzzle together to get us the full picture. And that's what I can find it here in ways nowhere else. I've no other sources is like this book, so that's why I'm recommending it. But don't worry, this document gives the full translation in English of all the puzzle pieces he put together to give us the full New Jerusalem Scroll. Now, as we explained in the previous video, in the Dead Sea Scroll, it's called 4Q554. They rendered the 12 tribes, okay, in this manner. This is east, this is north, this is south, okay? And so what we want to do is take a look at this document and show you the similarities of what we find with the New Jerusalem in the book of Revelation. Not only the New Jerusalem, other things. This is amazing. Okay, so this is, of course, my rendering. You've seen that, and those are the 12 tribes. We know. They also, okay, they had the 12 leaders. Okay, we'll talk about the 12 leaders. So not only did they see New Jerusalem, they also foreshaw. Remember, all of this document, everything that we're looking at is about 100 years before Christ. Okay, so amazing. Anyway, there's another document that they had in Qumran called the Temple Scroll, and the Temple Scroll is kind of like the Ezekiel, and then it goes and is larger, and then it gives you all the details of sacrifices and different things going on. And here is a rendering of that. Okay, there's a temple, there's another middle court, and then there's an outer court with the gates as you see. The old city of Jerusalem, okay, if it were over the old city of Jerusalem, that gives you an idea of its size. Okay, now that is not the New Jerusalem. So then we get New Jerusalem, and New Jerusalem is bigger than that. Okay, it's bigger. And so then what they believed is that there were certain, just like, you know, we had the tabernacle of Moses, and after such time the plan is given to David, it's built by Solomon. Okay, so that the tabernacle is one thing and then it grows to something else. They took that with Ezekiel, with the idea of after the Ezekiel temple, or that idea of that temple for such a period, there would be a future period and a future kind of temple. Now we know in Revelation that there's no temple. Okay, and so we're not going to go through all the aspects of the sacrifices in the temple. They have a great hall, and we know that there's a tower in the Ezekiel temple. So we're not rendering any of that at this time. I don't know if we're going to do that in the future either, because I don't know if we have really enough information to make something solid. But we do have some information to make certain things solid, as the gates. So again, in the temple scroll, okay, this is an example of a gate, and this is the wall. Okay, so we have the gate and the wall, and you know, we are going to, you know, use these measurements of what they provide for us and the information. And we also have Michael's renderings, Michael the architect, his renderings, which we're going to show you. So basically what we're looking at here is a snapshot of the book. We have the renderings from the book. We have quotes from the book at the bottom. But what I want to do is quickly just go through the aspects of this, which are things we never knew about New Jerusalem, about the book of Revelation, which we find in this document from Qumran. Okay, we showed you how the crown has gemstones, 12 gemstones. Okay, and we get something, okay, that appears to be the fulfillment of Christ in his many crowns. Okay, Revelation 19, on his head were many crowns. Now, many, what is that? Okay, many is, 2 is not many, 3 is not many. Okay, so how many crowns? What is it? Well, we actually get this information from this document where it tells us there are 7 crowns on the high priest. Okay, so Christ is this high priest in the order of Melchizedek, and it tells us about these crowns. The grape, okay, its leaves as a branch is the 4th crown. Radiates in them as a 5th crown. The ark cover is the 6th crown. Okay, 6th crown, so the ark kind of has points to it, and that's the 6th crown. The 7th crown in the shape of a booth that the high priest wears. Okay, so this is amazing. We actually are getting details about Christ's crowns. Okay, so we believe that one of them is holding gemstones like this, but then this is some of the other ones, the 4th one, the 5th one, the 6th one, the 7th one. Amazing. So there's nothing in the Old Testament that tells us that. Okay, we don't have anything. There's, like, the high priest has a plate and he has a turban, and okay, but we don't have anything in that says 7 crowns. All right, now the beast, he counterfeits that, because the beast has 7 heads and 10 horns, and on the heads, okay, 7 crowns, diadem. All right, but that's a counterfeit, and actually Christ, he actually has 7 crowns, and that's something we didn't know, but now we know because of this document. Isn't that exciting? Okay, the books are open. We get something else that happens, and we're going to try to use some captions of Revelation 20, a great right throne in him has sat upon it. The dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. So remember how we are saying that the resurrection happens. Okay, this is the dead, small and great, standing before him. The resurrection happened. The resurrection is the righteous and the unrighteous stand before him. And so that's what happens. You get the resurrection, and then you get New Jerusalem. So they actually identify a book from the temple. Is it the book of life? Another book was open in Revelation 20, okay, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things written in the books. Okay. Now, from this document, we can see the throne. It's fragment, guys. Not everything is full text. So it says the throne, the gate. It says the gate in front of the temple. And from the throne, he placed on the 7th day and on the 1st day of each month. From the throne, the temple, from the sanctuary, holy, which is in the temple, and the head, red. So I think head is like head of days or something like that, possibly like Ancient of Days, the head. And one hand on the lamp of the 7 branches, talking about the menorah. And he raised to me on 4, and he allowed me to read in the book of the temple. And from the temple he showed me the book. A book. And the head red. And then it says praise. So what we believe is this is like the books being open. So they not only see the 7 crowns, they see the books being open. Amazing. Now what we have is there's columns and little sections of this book in Qumran called New Jerusalem, and so that's where you see column where we have like sections. The table, okay, so we know that there's a table from before the Lord. Okay, they see the river of life, guys. This is amazing. Revelation 21:2, he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and the Lamb. Okay? And he showed me a channel near the wall. Okay, so this is like in our Ezekiel temple. We have the temple here, and then the water proceeds out. And so there's a channel as well of the river of life. Okay, and they see this. And he showed me the channel near the river, and he measured it 2 cubits in its height, 2 cubits, and the wall of pure gold. It is beautiful. It is of pure gold, and the water wells up from, and we miss the text. So guys, when we're looking at this document, in the sections we're not seeing, quite often what they do describe is the narrator is being shown things by an angel. In these particular examples, we don't see it, but we'll see it in some other ones. Okay, the gates. And he showed me the colonnade. Okay, so this is an example. So this is just a rendering of the gates. It's not exactly like this. These are just ancient ones in the book. And he showed me the colonnade of columns winding from gate to gate in all their stones. Okay, so what's happening is the narrator in Qumran, he is being shown this by an angel, and that's of course what we see with Apostle John as well. So here are the gates. It describes their description. It describes a temple. It describes an altar. Now, we have sacrifices taking place. We have a grain offering. And we know in the wedding supper, okay, we have the wine. We have like communion. We know that's going to be eternal. But they talk a lot about animal sacrifices, and we don't know if there are animal sacrifices or not. There could be. It says that there's no death. It says once we see New Jerusalem, there is no death. Okay, so you know when you sacrifice an animal, it has to die. So we interpret that to mean that there's no death. Okay, but what if people eat meat? I don't know if people eat meat or not. Maybe it goes back to the Garden of Eden. People just eat vegetables and herbs. Maybe it's like that. Or if they eat meat, the animal has to die. Okay, if the animal dies, the Most High just doesn't kill an animal for no reason. It is, it's a sacrifice. Is it? I don't know. We don't know. All right, at this time, maybe he'll show us. The Most High is showing us amazing things. So we have a pure table. We have an altar of incense and the table. Okay, all of this is in New Jerusalem as well. Okay, we see the new loaves in placing the old. As an order of priesthood, okay, here we get a lot of the sacrifices and things going on And we get 7 cups and 7 bowls. Wow. All right, just like in Revelation, we had the 7 angels with the 7 bowls. One of those angels of the 7 bowls, guys, he shows John the New Jerusalem. And here we see 7 cups and 7 bowls to smell the odor that he had mixed. So this is bowls, okay, and incenses in them for incense offerings. And in them 7 cauldrons of stoves on the earth. Okay. And of them 32,900. And he separated and prepared. Okay, 32,900. So that's a certain number of people there. But you can see it's very fragmented. All right. And he said to me, in all the west wind, to the houses of joy and to the wall. Enter from the right, prepared to the right. So, houses of joy. We know in the Ezekiel temple there are song chambers. So these are things that they're seeing as well, okay, in this document. Now here we see the rendering of the gates. Okay, lost my place. I'll get it on the screen. But when they, the architect here is now going to show us some things. He showed us the gates there, and he's going to show us the Dead Sea Scrolls, New Jerusalem, and how it is not a perfect square. Okay, so I can't fit it on the screen. I don't have a mouse, guys. When I plug my microphone, my mouse is here. It doesn't work. It's a Chromebook. It only can do one thing at a time. But anyway, what you're looking at is we have the gates of the tribes, and the length here is 140 stadia, and its height here, this distance here is 100. So it's not a perfect square. And they have the gates of the 12 tribes. And the section here is the temple or holy area, holy precinct. Okay. Okay, then now the next section, it describes the gates. Here we end up with the blocks of the city. And here our architect has take the measurements, okay, and he has rendered them, okay, for us. And they basically, we took his renders, and that's what we showed you earlier. Okay, so we have the gates, we have everything, and we basically took this model, put it into 3D, and that's what we showed you earlier in the video. He is getting that information from right here. What is a city block? And it defines everything, the windows, this is amazing, guys. This is the real New Jerusalem, okay? All the streets of the city were paved with white stone, lime, red marble, and jasper. Precious stones, guys, just like we see in the book of Revelation. And so there's measurements, there's everything. This document tells you how to measure a street, everything. Okay, the gates. So these are the gates, the main city gates. Okay, and then there's other gates. Okay, there's stairs. He tells you the stairs, and the architect has given us renderings and given us precise measurements for everything. The only thing I want to point out, actually, I should say this. Okay, here, when we did these city blocks and we showed you that house, okay, there is a slight difference between all the measurements and everything that we see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, New Jerusalem, than the Revelation Jerusalem. Nothing is the same. A cubit is not the same. A reed is not the same. A stadia is not the same. Nothing is the same. So what we had to do is we had to actually do a conversion and take the measurements that's here and what can we find in our temple. Well, it just so happens the building I showed you in the beginning of the video, it is exactly the dimensions is the exact same dimensions and footprint as the 30 chambers in the Ezekiel temple. Okay, now these chambers in the Ezekiel temple, it doesn't say what those are. Those were things that we just came up and rendered it in such a way, okay, And the difference between that and these chambers was only 2 or 3 cubits. So we had to just adjust slightly the measurements in the Qumran document in order to make it fit the revelation. We didn't have to do much. We just minor things tweaked, and then bang, it's the same proportions. Now, we got the 30 chambers from the first temple when it said the foundation was 8 cubits by 10 cubits was a foundation stone. Okay, so we took that ratio and used that ratio to make the 30 chambers in the outer court. Well, it just so happens, guys, those are the same measurements that are in New Jerusalem. Amazing. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out as well. There's other slight differences, things that you guys probably don't care about, but if you do and you have any questions, let me know. Basically, I'm just showing you the pictures because I'm a visual learner. No, you're not. Okay, anyway, this here is a city block. Okay, so these are this is a great view he has given us here, and you see the buildings, and they are all connected one to another. You have a courtyard area, stairs go up. It has 2 stories. The bottom floor is open. This is very similar actually to the house I used to stay in, right? I had an open courtyard. I didn't have a wall this big. I had stairs going up. I had an open area, open room. That's where I did the videos, and then there was upstairs and windows and everything. Very, very similar. Okay, and here is just the one building, okay, by itself, kind of like what we showed you in the beginning of the video. Okay, and here that is. Okay, so we have that. We have he's given us the architectural rendering. He's taken all the measurements that they have given us, and I'll give you a for example. So the length here, you can see the courtyard is 14 cubits, and the building itself, this length here is 14 cubits. So that gives us 28 cubits, right? Well, all we had to do is, ours is 30 cubits. So this is 28, ours is 30. We just add a cubit here, and we add a cubit here, bang. And then the width, same thing. Our width of this, of his is 21 cubits, ours is 24. So we just make it 3 cubits wider. It's identical. Amazing. Okay, they have another thing, which is a dining hall. And let's check this out. He measured me the houses for the dining, or the dining hall. 19 cubits in length, and its width 12 cubits. In each house, 22 couches. 11, sealed windows above the couches. All right. And alongside the passage. So that was the passage in the alley that we showed you. All right. Here, the architect has done a city block. So each one of these is a city block. And this is the whole New Jerusalem in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this is kind of like what we told you in the beginning of the video with our big view. All right. And that is that measure. We have the walls. Okay, he talks about the 7 kingdoms, which we know Christ will rule over the 127 provinces, like in the King in the book of Esther, and so they list those as well. Okay, so after the kingdom, column 22, after the kingdom of, and we missed that one, we get the kingdom of Persia. After him, the kingdom of Kittim. And we get Egypt, Edom, Moab, Ammonites, of Babylon. Okay, so these are the kingdoms, that Christ will rule over in the millennium, outside of the, New Jerusalem. Okay, so those kingdoms still exist, guys. So the nations are still there in New Jerusalem. So when New Jerusalem comes down, amazingly, yes, we have New Jerusalem coming down, and when it does, the nations, bring, gifts to it, and so those nations, and some of those are listed here as well. And so we know Christ reigns in the millennium over the nations, but he also does with the Father in New Jerusalem. Amazing. And then again, we showed you the gemstones before. At the bottom of this, I'm not going to read it, but if you get this document, it has quotations from the book, which goes into greater detail. Okay, so guys, this is New Jerusalem. This is amazing. Look, New Jerusalem is not just some ethereal, it's a real place, and we are now getting the actual measurements of exactly what it looks like. So in the upcoming videos, we hope to, this one we want to show you a house, we want to show you a city block, and the next one we want to show you a gate. What does a gate look like? And we have additional buildings, which he did not do in this book. He didn't do all the architectural renderings, so he didn't give us a gate, and he didn't give us the columns. Okay, so we have to do those. So guys, this is our series on New Jerusalem. This is our second part. And the voice from the angel said, "It is done. It is time no longer."